I'm Rosemary Maloney, President of the GBTA Board of Directors, and we're at the Broadcast Studio 2026 GBTA Canada Conference in Toronto. Joining me today is Marc-André Brunet, Vice President, Product and Engineering at Encore. Hi, Marc. How are you?
Doing fantastic. About yourself?
I'm doing great. So let's get into it. With mergers, private equity roll-ups, and mega TMC dominance reshaping the industry, what does independence truly mean for corporate travel clients?
It's a great question. The way I would like to see it is we could like, kind of think about the engineering of a product roadmap, and then just think about what it means if you're backed by shareholders and you're backed by PE, venture capital, versus if you're truly independent. I think it's interesting to think about it in the context of a product roadmap. Because if on the one side you have your KPIs are about you need to drive revenue by the end of the quarter, or you need to drive this that will increase or revenue or decrease cost, etc. Because you need to make good on your shareholder, or you need to show progress on your financial metrics. We don't care that much. So being in that space without having those incentives to drive revenue and to lower costs all the time, when you translate that into a product roadmap, it gives you something what I consider to be magic. It's you can think long term, and you can think what's important for my client, not what's important for the bottom line or the top line. So that's really is the main thing to think about. So when you have those incentives to just, I'm going to play the infinite game here. You get a lot less churn, and you get a lot more retention and ability to drive happiness. And so it translates for us in having like an upwards of 95 net promoter score and zero churn. Clients, they just don't leave us because they get to have a roadmap that is tailored to them, not tailored to extract more from them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it gets to be a product first development rather than a shareholder first.
Yes,
Awesome.
That would be the one.
Great. When a TMC's revenue is largely supplier driven, how does that impact content access, technology adoption, and client advocacy?
Right. It's a great segue. It's a good stepping stone into that question, because when you connect a couple of dots here, and you think about content, if you have to drive more revenue, one way to do that is to suggest what content should you buy, Mr. or Mrs. Traveler, based on what gives me the most revenue. So what it translates into is your typical big TMC, the massive players out there, and the public ones, and PE ones. You'll see a share of revenue about 66% on the supplier revenue side, and then about 1/3 on the client side. And having this lack of balance means that you'll hear a lot more of those, I cannot find my flight, or I found this flight on the .com, or I found this flight on Expedia, but it's not on your platform. Well, one thing that isn't missing is their flight, right? Is the one that they really want you to book, but the one you really care for might miss. And when you think about it in these terms, who's the client then? So if you make more than half of your revenue from suppliers, maybe the client is not the client. Maybe the client is the airline or is the hotel, which it's part of the equation. It's a double-sided marketplace, and they should not be forgotten. But also, the TMC should not forget who they're working for and who contracted with them to begin with. So that's really where I see the biggest impact. There is the ability to drive the right content and the right stuff in front of the right eyes. Is you have to not lose sight of who you're working for.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear, and it's really interesting to hear it seen as the TMC as being a double-sided marketplace.
Right?
Because I think so often that gets forgotten from both sides.
I very much agree.
In today's environment where scale, automation, and outsourced models are driving efficiency, what trade-offs should buyers be looking for?
Yeah. a little more of the same here is the uh, circling back to, if you're shareholder backed or venture capital or PE backed, you want to drive a lot revenue. And so you think about new technologies in terms of how can I reduce my costs? How can I increase my revenue? And so in the new world we live in, you'll see a lot of that of AI, for instance, used for, people will say, people want to self-serve, and then we'll build some AI booking capabilities, and we'll search for you and put what you should look at, what you should book in front of you right away. Okay, interesting. At Encore, I don't think we ever thought that it was a good idea to let that AI decide that. And if you really think about it for a minute and a half, is really what drives those companies to think this is a good idea? Is it really that people want to talk to robots, or is it that they want to lower costs on their, people talking to travel agents? So people going all in on you can chat with our AI chat bot. People don't want to chat with an AI chat, but I don't know who said, like, I'm looking forward.
Who doesn't love speaking to a robot?
Everybody in the industry, I'm trying really hard not to name names, but I don't see any roadmaps that doesn't have an AI chatbot. And like, we're staying as far as we can from that. So when you think about compromises and trade-offs that people should be on the lookout for, like, how hard is it to speak to a human at your TMC? How hard is it? How long? How many steps? Do I have to click on help and then inside help, another click and then another click to find a chat, which is a bot, and then 5 sentences in, I finally get someone or a phone number?
Yeah.
Or do you have someone within like 10 seconds that is actually a travel expert? And yeah, that means you're not going to be the cheapest, but is that the goal? Or is that to have 30-year-old relationships with our clients that trust us and want to build with us and cannot recommend us enough? That's a trade-off that is hard to quantify as a client, but I would say look at how hard it is to find a human, to talk to a human. Or how many times do you ask yourself, oh, why can I find my flight? It's obviously there. There's 29 direct flights between Atlanta and New York on Delta alone every day. If you're seeing 14 of them, there's a problem. And so it's just like, if you're obsessed with the content and making sure the experience is there, the trade-offs you want to look out for is how easy is it to find the right content and how hard it is to find a human, in my opinion. And you can't easily quantify that, but it's something worth looking for.
That does seem to be a recurring issue with TMCs, is you have to find what gives you both the service level and the technology you need. And it's just it's part of our eternal struggle at this point.
Right, I agree.
Well, thank you so much for all your insight today. Really appreciate it. It sounds like you'll be, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Rosemary Maloney, President of GBTA Board of Directors, and this is Broadcast Studio at GBTA Canada Conference. See you next time.